सवाल तो छोड़ के गया था जनरल साहब के लिए कि जंग होने के कितने इम्कान है, उसका मैं जवाब लूंगा, लेकिन हमें वो मिल गए हैं। जस्टिन थॉमस रसल हैं, ये एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर ग्लोबल फॉरेन पॉलिसी सेंटर यूएस बेस्ड वर्जीनिया में है। ये बड़े ट्रीटीज और खासतौर पर पानी के बहुत बड़े एक्सपर्ट इंटरनेशनल माने जाते हैं। उनसे मैं पूछना चाह रहा हूं कि क्या इंडिया कर सकता है जो करना चाहता है इंडो वाटर ट्रीटी पे। गुड इवनिंग जस्टिन।
Good evening, Mohammed. Good to be with you.
In fact, it should be late afternoon, I believe, over there. Two, three quick questions, Justin. The Indian Prime Minister has held the treaty, Indus Water Treaty, in abeyance, and every day he's making statements. He says, "I have to look after my people's interest and everything." Now the question is, we know they can't do it. There are no provisions. How can India be compelled, short of Pakistan declaring a war, if they actually go through with it? And if they try to stop water and everything, what are the options that Pakistan has? Because the World Bank president, I heard, he was saying in some interview that, we can only put an arbitrator to get the matter sorted out, because it does settle a very dangerous precedent. If an upper riparian unilaterally decides to play around with water, then lower riparians world over would end up having a very dangerous precedent to follow. How does one stop India from doing anything stupid?
Well, that's the big question, Mohammed. And the reality is there's several things in play here. I mean, one of the things we have to look at is that the Indus Treaty was like, it was arranged by the World Bank back in 1960. So they kind of have some governance over this. But, one of the things that I've always stated is water is a humanitarian issue. It is a humanitarian tool. It should not be used as a weapon of war or a weapon of conflict. Water is for sanitation, cooking, cleaning, bathing, agricultural, cooling, heating. It is needed for human existence. And to use water as a tool of conflict is just a bad idea all around, and it escalates things. That being said, back to your question, Mohammed, are there aspects or are there tracks that Pakistan could possibly do? Let me clear up that I am not a lawyer, but my understanding is that if Pakistan wanted to, if the presidency and the leadership in Islamabad wanted to take a case to the International Court of Justice, they could bring a civil complaint to the ICJ, which would kind of settle the legal dispute and provide advisory opinions on how the Indus Treaty should be interpreted.
And if it it is a humanitarian issue, like you laid it out yourself, doesn't it become an equally potent case to be put up in the Security Council, and not as a bilateral treaty issue, but an entire area, life and livelihood being threatened and water being weaponized? Doesn't it come under that purview as well?
That's a very interesting question, Mohammed. And the answer is I really can't put my finger on it. The reason being is this. If you're asking if the Security Council would bring this up, the Security Council, in my opinion, would probably push back on it, saying, look, this is a signed, enacted treaty between Pakistan and India. This is a situation between Islamabad and New Delhi. Figure it out. If there is a legal case that needs to be brought, take it to the ICJ. There is possibly a UN resolution that could be brought up, but again, you're bringing up a treaty conflict that is kind of somehow on the periphery attached to what could be construed as an offshoot of an escalated armed conflict that we saw over the Kashmir region earlier this month.
The reason, Justin, I brought it up was because if this thing is allowed to go unchecked, there are some universal understandings, there are some universal norms and givens, like we put it. And one thing is that upper riparians cannot arbitrarily block water supplies to lower riparian countries. And we are not this is not the only unique situation in India, Pakistan. It's Canada, US. You have a lot of other countries in Europe and everything. So if this thing is allowed to go unchecked, doesn't it set a very dangerous precedent elsewhere also? Then tomorrow Brahmaputra comes out from China, then maybe China would be perfectly legit in blocking water coming into India. And the same could be happening if India is allowed to weaponize water. How does the world stop from other countries from weaponizing water?
Well, this dynamic of how New Delhi is going to try and kind of divert water usage off of the Indus Treaty, as you put it, it sets a very bad precedent. I mean, anybody who's watched American movies knows that you watch any Western, anytime you block water to another man's ranch land, there's going to be a fight.
Yeah.
This does not take away the tension. This escalates the tension between Pakistan and India. That's never a good idea. What I would say is that India has as a very interesting dilemma that they have to look at here. Excuse me. If you look at the fact that India is saying, look, we're not getting enough water, we're giving Islamabad is, in Pakistan, they are overestimating their usage and their need. The reality is some experts are saying that India underestimated when they did the treaty and they overdeveloped, which means that this is an India problem, not a treaty problem. India either needs to have water restrictions or controls in their development, or they need to find another source of water that doesn't conflict with the terms of the Indus Treaty.
That's a very interesting angle.
There's a lot of aspects in this.
That's a very interesting angle that might be India's own problem. Anyway, Justin,